There was an event at the White House this week. Melania Trump and the first spouses of like 20 other countries. And Melania comes in with a humanoid robot at her side. And the two of them walk down this, like, they look like they're a married couple. That was a joke the Daily Show made. They look like they're walking together. They've just gotten hitched. Melania's doing her kind of runway walk, and the humanoid is doing it sort of like, you know, like hope I don't fall over kind of walk.
Can I say this? She looked more excited to be walking next to this robot than her husband. There was more intimacy in that walk. All right, please continue. I just want to.
So then the robot like comes and addresses the crowd.
Thank you, First Lady Melania Trump, for inviting me to the White House.
It's an education summit. It's about technology and education. That's why I'm bringing this up here. So we're going to talk about cognitive offloading, okay?
Yeah.
So here's what Melania said. Imagine a humanoid educator named Plato. Access to the classical studies is now instantaneous. Literature, science, art, philosophy, mathematics, and history. Humanity's entire corpus of information is available in the comfort of your home and delivered to you by like a humanoid robot teacher. That's the part that's not in that quote. But my favorite word in this is Plato, first of all. They've got to name it Plato. But also it's instantaneous, right? Everything is instantaneous, delivered to you by a robot, in your classroom, in your home. We all want humanoids, and we all want, you know, immediate access, no struggle, basically.
Yeah.
Welcome to Future Around and Find Out, where we celebrate the breakthroughs, call BS on the hype, and explore how things might go sideways and how we, together, can steer the future in the right direction. Hi, I'm Dan Blumberg. I'm an independent technologist and former NPR journalist, and on the show, you'll hear sharp takes on what builders need to know now. Learn more, sign up for the newsletter, and ask questions of upcoming guests at futurearound.com.
Oh God, where do we start here? Before I go into the commentary, what was your what was your question in playing this?
I mean, I wanted to hear that. I wanted that guffaw. We've been talking about humanoid robots a lot on the show, so then suddenly one shows up, you know, striding next to the First Lady at the White House,
right.
and like, you know, and then she's sitting next to the First Lady of France and Ukraine, and they're all there in the room, and they had a whole chat about education and technology, and I can't tell you I know much more about it than this ridiculous photo op, but it's part of like a 2-day summit on education and technology. Also, the other thing, when Melania reads, she's reading it for the first time, and she sounds more robotic than the robot did. She's walking in some ways, although in a very, like, she has that runway walk, but it's still kind of a stilted.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
okay.
It's like, which one's the robot? It was my first reaction, for sure.
That was my initial reaction. I said two robots walking down a long hallway. God, there's so much here. Okay. One. There's a part of this that feels patronizing. First of all, why is it that you have to have the wives of world leaders at an education summit? Doesn't education affect all of us? It doesn't feel, I could be wrong, but it doesn't feel like they've chosen to have all of the wives of the leaders there because whoever organized this event feels that, well, women, and I'm going to say this, most of the women in my life are way brighter than I am. I'm just going to name that, especially my wife. So it doesn't feel like they've put together this panel of women to reflect that. Instead, it feels like they're putting together this panel of women to somehow reflect that or have them cosplaying as moms who are concerned about the education of their kids. That's the
robot
first
had a
part.
Female voice, by the way.
Okay, well, there you go. So there's that. So I'm going to lead with that. That part feels insulting on so many levels. And then is the purpose of it, you know, because I love how you tie this to productive struggle, is the purpose of learning to just instantaneously know something? Is that
exactly.
even
That's exactly why I played
learning?
the clip, right? It's like, instantaneous access to everything. I mean, which is amazing. And frankly, we've had some version of that thanks to the web and Google for a long time. We have, used to be, okay, baseball season started this week, right? Used to be you'd memorize,
all the stats.
Yeah, yes. Oh my God, Babe Ruth had 714 home runs, right? Look, I even gave you a Yankees, I threw you a bone there, right? I threw about a Yankee.
Thanks
I know
for
that
throwing
number.
me a bone about one of the best baseball players ever. I appreciate that.
I know that number, right? Hank Aaron, 757. I actually don't know Barry Bonds. I know, he has a higher number in asterisk. Right. But you'd memorize these numbers, right? And now what's the point? Why would you bother to memorize these numbers? So we have had access to on-demand information for a very long time now. But this this new flavor, this even more capable generative AI, now put it in a humanoid body because why not? Put that body at the front of a classroom because I guess why not?
That part.
Yeah.
That part. So the third part. Yeah, well, we have this we have this little robot, or we have this pair of robots, and you can just put them in front of a classroom and it has all the information. And so that will teach kids. There's a misalignment around what learning is and the fact that you could replace a teacher with a robot. Even we didn't watch the whole clip, so I'm not sure if she was saying this, but even the visual and the idea of what she was saying, that creates this level of fear within teachers that already exists, which then full circle to that that narrative piece where it creates this this resistance to integrating technology or innovation into a school properly, because you think that that's the end goal, that my job will be replaced by one of these humanoids. So many things are wrong with this.
Why does it need a body?
It doesn't need a body. All of this is crazy. So it's the reason I'm saying
it didn't even look cool. I mean, even in the I don't know what maybe it played well to not me, just to other people, but Gavin Newsom had a field day making fun of this. They made a version of that robot that has a little more portly and more hair like Donald Trump. So he had a lot of fun with it. It was so weird. It's so weird. So, and I don't know that it does the robot industry any favors to have this weirdness. I don't know.
Can I tie this back to the one session that you and I went to together?
Yeah.
The woman that we met, designing for feeling, Olivia. This is a perfect example of her work, Design for Feelings, how people will build things and afterwards come back to her and say, hey, people aren't into this. Why not? How can we fix it? This doesn't need a body. This doesn't need a body. That's not the point. This is someone who's taken something from science fiction and figured out how to build it, and then have sort of skipped the step around, will this freak people out? Will this make people feel comfortable? Will people want to be around this thing?
Yeah. You know where this thing would be cool? I mean, have you seen the videos of robots playing ping pong? If I could work if I could work on my tennis game, and sometimes it's hard to find a partner to play tennis with. If I could play against, it doesn't even need to have legs and look like a humanoid. I mean, there are ball machines. That is a ball machine, a robot. That thing we went to at South is X a robot? So phys ed. That's where you got to. So back to your consultant trying to sell us into school. You sell us into the phys ed department, into the athletics department, because they got money. In fact, forget about elementary, maybe some of the really amazing high schools, but you go to the college sports,
thing,
and you sell the humanoid robots in the gym for helping lift weights
But to your point, is this just the Google Gemini of learning how to play, where it's just something that's just hitting the ball back to you, or you know what I mean? But there's no nuance. There's the little tennis that I've played, there's the physical aspect of where you are in the court, but there's also the mental aspect of it.
Oh my God, tennis is such a mental sport. Yes.
Are you getting that from this robot?
No.
No. You look how resigned you are.
Well, no, I mean, actually, I'd be curious to find some interviews of Kasparov and how he trained differently to play Deep Blue.
Exactly.
Because it thinks differently than a human does, right?
Right.
And so you do have to train differently, and that is a mental thing. Chess is obviously a very, chess is a mental sport. It's not really a physical sport.
Exactly.
Yeah. or game. Maybe it's not even a sport. Yeah.
Yeah, game. Yeah, game. Yeah, I wouldn't sell this. That is not where education is headed. All right, let's talk about education.
All right.
This week, in this week's episode of FOMO on FAFO.
FOMO. Okay.
You like that?
I do like that.
I experienced some serious FOMO because you interviewed easily one of the most loveliest people I've ever met, who you actually introduced me to, Kristen DeSorbo, who is absolutely just lovely as an individual, and brilliant as a person,
and the chief learning officer of Khan Academy. Yeah, been on the show twice now. What was it that struck you for those who haven't yet heard the episode?
The first thing that struck me was the idea of the report with the different scenarios of whether or not AI should be introduced into schools and what that looks like in different scenarios. And that one struck me as someone who does work within schools currently, and I'm currently working with a school on how they bring AI into their learning community. And all of those scenarios rang true. And there was a specific scenario in that report that talked about deep fakes. And it talked about deep fakes of the principal saying bad things, all of that.
Yeah, someone makes a deep fake. So someone uses Sora back when it existed to make a deep fake of the principal doing something. That was, I think, the scenario.
Right.
Something untoward. Yeah.
So that one really resonated with me because that exact scenario hasn't happened with any of the schools that I work with. But what I have seen in schools is kids on social media creating deepfakes of their teachers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because typically, and this makes sense, a teacher will they'll post a picture of themselves. And usually it's like a picture of themselves doing something like that they're into, like maybe they're into, kayaking, like you're into kayaking, or maybe they're, playing pickleball, whatever. And so they'll post an image of themselves like that as a way to sort of humanize themselves for the kids. So it's like, oh, I'm into things. This is who I am as a person. Maybe they'll have a little bit of a bio.
Yeah. And then someone puts that image on X and says, undress this teacher.
Oh, okay, not that. Wow, you really took that to a place. But they could.
Sorry. Only if you're a paying user of X now. That was Elon's big compromise, was like, oh, no. Oh, we'll make it safe because you have to pay us now to undress people.
And kids don't have credit cards or access to money in that way.
So it's totally cool as long as you pay to undress people you don't have their permission to like digitally undress. That was the
right.
Yeah. All right, go on. I'm sorry. Go on. Yeah.
Elon. Oh God. But no, the kids are they're being. It's pretty watered down, but they're taking these teachers' images.
Yeah.
And that struck me because that is very real. Like, it's written in this report, like it's fiction, but it's happening, and it's happening in like these small amounts right now. But it's not happening in the way where a kid is pissed off and doing something and not that I've seen. Maybe this is happening in other schools. And the reality of that is really scary. And there are two pathways. You know how, the story goes in the different paths. There are two pathways that schools can take. One can be like, all right, well, we're going to remove all images of teachers. But that doesn't mean anything. A kid can Google an image. You know the teacher's name and know what the teacher looks like. Or you can educate them. You can explain to them why this is wrong, how the internet exists, which fortunately a lot of the schools I work with.
And it's probably a lot sillier. I know I went straight to like the most egregious example.
Yes, you did. It was dark.
It's probably a lot sillier of like, I don't know, now my teacher is like, I don't know, like on a mountaintop in a farm, like playing with people, like turn them into fruit slop, like whatever. Like,
right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But the point is that it's that it exists. This reality that we're painting is this like Black Mirror version of educational futures is the present. And one, I love that someone who is working for a large educational organization is thinking in those terms. I love that. And two, I'm a little freaked out that this has happened and it doesn't feel like we're prepared as schools or schools are prepared for this. But a lot of these scenarios, we're not prepared for them. And this is the reality we're living in. And the idea, because you made this joke about all schools becoming trade schools, there are people who feel that that should happen, but that's not the world we're moving towards. That was the one that really, really resonated with me. In addition to like your initial question, which is what kids should study, and the idea of what the heck should they study.
So you actually prepped me well for this. You if you had joined, I know the question you really wanted to ask was about what is the right amount of struggle? Like how much should kids, you learn through. And I literally went through this with my 13-year-old this week. Like he had some polynomials that he had to learn. I actually used some Khan Academy stuff to help him. So shout out to that. Yeah, look at that. I know. But how much should a kid have to struggle, or any learner, forget about age, like how much should you have to struggle to learn AI can just give you the answer? And so we talked about this, like, there is productive struggle. And then she said, yes, that is how kids learn, but let's not fetishize struggle. Like sometimes you do need to move ahead, give them the answer, but like it's not all productive. Just getting like frustrated and pulling at your hair is not always the path to learning. It doesn't have to be. And so I think that's what we're trying to figure out is like there's a cognitive offloading with AI. Mm-hmm. AI does everything for me. And this is what I want. I want to play you something in a second on this. Or it's, like where do you coach someone? How Socratic should you be? Like, why do you think that? Or why do you say they're doing reading a book and trying to like understand a character's motivation. Well, you could ask the kid a million questions. Well, why do you think so and so did this in the story?
Right.
Well, tell me more about that. Tell me more. Like at a certain point, if they're not getting to the right answer, like you may want to help them get there quickly. I mean, you know more about this than I do.
No, you're nailing it.
And that's a huge thing in the workplace, in schools, is like, to what extent are we using AI to have a little grandiose, but like superpowers, or how much is it actually just like infantilizing us? And like, what do we do when it is so, at least on the face of it, so capable?
I would say that, and you're hinting at something that's really interesting, the struggle that happens in workplace, just in general. If you don't understand how to struggle, if you don't learn how to struggle in one way or another, school, home, chores, how do you handle that in the workplace? It's less, and I think we could both speak to this. It's not like you go into the workplace and everyone's just like, who has the answer to this? And someone raises their hand, like, you're going to get promoted. That is, in the way that that school has been modeled for us for a long, who knows this? And someone raises their hand, you're like, all right, that kid's pretty sharp. I know that kid is, I'm going to subconsciously, when I'm grading them, I know that they're sharp. So I'm going to give them a better grade. But instead it's who can figure the thing out, who can work through the problem. And in that interview, you were talking about the idea of struggle and what is being offloaded as far as like developing certain cognitive skills. But I think the skill of working through struggle itself, how is that?
Yeah, that's an emotional skill.
It's an emotional skill. And how do kids develop that? I don't love this term, but it's used a lot, that grit, and not offload that to AI. Yeah. That piece. That's the part that I literally struggle with my own kids. Not that my kids are using AI, but the idea of building in that struggle.
So I was helping my son. He had some assignment for his health class where he had to like make a menu of like healthy foods for the week, something like that. And then the menu had to have like health facts, how many calories, how much sodium, stuff like that. And he's Googling everything, like, okay, we're gonna have some strawberries like on top of the waffles that are in the meal, and he Googles it, but immediately, without knowing it or not knowing it, I honestly have no idea. He just immediately enters Google's AI mode.
Yes,
and so it's like, so how many? I mean, I think a strawberry has 0 calories, maybe, but like how many calories are in a strawberry or in a chicken breast or whatever, and it goes straight into Google's AI mode. And for a question like that, AI mode is the stupidest thing you could use, because I don't need there is
one answer.
There's one answer, right? Like my favorite example of this actually is sometimes I need the routing number for my bank. I'm Chase Bank.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so
what was that routing number
for
again?
years?
What was that bank account number? Anyway, go on.
I'll give the routing number. It's not a secret. But for years, I always forget it, and I'm at Chase Manhattan, right? Old historic bank, and just like how with phone numbers, Manhattan got 212, got like the best area code. It's like with a rotary phone, it's very easy to dial 212. The routing number for Chase downstate, Chase Manhattan, basically is like, it's like 021, like a bunch of zeros, and then like 1 2. It's something like that. All I know is it's only zeros, ones, and twos, and I can never remember it precisely. And also, I don't want to mess it up, so I Google it often.
Yeah.
And Google would immediately give me the answer box of like, here's the routing number for right.
Yep.
Except now, if you do that same search, I haven't done it recently, but I like a year ago, when they were introducing all the Gemini stuff, it would give you Gemini's predicted answer.
No.
Like, what the fuck? Like, why? Like, there's nothing to predict. There's one and only one answer to this question. And so anyway, so back to my son, he's doing these searches of like the calorie count of like pick a food. And I don't trust the predictive powers of Gemini to get the right number. Not that, frankly, it really matters for his assignment at all, I don't think.
Right.
But like,
right.
But I don't think he knows the difference. Because he's young, and he didn't grow up knowing like this is the fact-based part of Google to the extent that you believe it, and then this is the like predictive text part of Google.
This is the AI part, which is the goal,
or
which is
the
what
generative
they're going
AI
for.
part. Like and I watch him do this, and like I have to bite my tongue because like if I interrupt him too much, he'll get angry. Like and I'm like, but don't. Also, like, could you just go to a website? Like, there are probably a million websites that just like list foods and their calories, right? Don't even Google it at all. Like, just find like a trustworthy website that has like a, this is the amount of calories in a whatever. And and he's Googling it, and then it's like it's so easy, and he's doing work. I don't know if he's getting the right answer, but he's doing work. And so it's like, I don't know. That's just
but there's
one
an offloading there. There's an offloading with, because first of all, there's the offloading of like, it's all, one, it's chat based. Two, Google's really savvy about what they do because they put it at the very top. Who scrolls down? You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
It's like literally, it's above the fold online.
I know.
For those of you
and I would have learned to like
are,
use a card catalog or something. So it's just
I totally know how to use the card catalog.
I know you do.
Okay. So there is that struggle. And when you're talking about this, and this is kind of an aside, but it's really similar. I'm sure you've seen Sesame Street as a child. You saw Sesame Street?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
So I remember watching Sesame Street, loving it when I was a kid. When my kids were a certain age, I was like, I want you guys to watch Sesame Street. At that point, it was on HBO. And I'd watch it with them. And what I noticed, every single song in Sesame Street was auto-tuned. Whenever the puppets sang, everything was auto-tuned. And then one day I went back to watch an old episode, and obviously that wasn't there, but it was so raw. Like there was even the episode that I watched, it was like Stevie Wonder was performing and kids were hanging off of scaffolding over him.
There's
while he's
also
performing.
the like gentrification of Sesame Street, like the set has like gotten, it's gotten, was that too?
Yeah, the old set was a little grimier.
A little grittier.
It reflected more of New York. But the point was, it bothered me that every song that my kids were hearing had auto-tune in it, but they couldn't tell. And so then when they would sing, they would literally try to mimic the auto-tune. I see an analogy between that and what you're describing, between being able to search for information, not even just like searching the card catalog, being able to Google something and go to a website, or the auto-tune version of it is, there's this little chatbot that appears up top. I'm just going to take whatever answer that is, as opposed to 5-10 years ago. All right, I'm going to go to this website. This looks right. Let me at least go to one more. Okay, the answer is the same on both. This is the answer.
Yeah.
And that to me reeks of the productive struggle piece, or the good struggle versus the bad struggle, or the non-existent struggle.
Yeah.
I know we have to wrap soon, and normally I give you 3 or 4, but I really have one.
Okay.
Past, present, or future for you. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. And
Here,
this
wait,
one's really
wait.
obvious.
Let me. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with past, present, and future. Kwaku's got one.
Look at you.
Yeah, Kwaku's got one that he wants to drop this week. All right. And we're back.
Okay, you know the way you did that, I was going to laugh, right? You knew that. Sometimes I set you
I'm
up.
trying to
but
get
you
better at
knew.
signposting the show, all right? So that was a little signpost right there.
No, the signpost was great, but you knew the way you did it.
Yeah, I know.
You knew. With such confidence. All right, Dan.
All right.
Productive struggle inside and outside of school, past, present, or future.
I mean, I think it's going to move, right? We were just sort of talking about this. Like, there are things that used to be a struggle and now they're not, and
Right.
and then there are things that I think,
Give me an example of that. Something that used to be a struggle but isn't anymore.
I mean, we gave one already, like, looking up facts, right? I don't know, like summarization. Like it used to, like summarization is like a kind of becoming a useless skill right now for a human to do. AI is so good at summarization. Like if you feed it a huge document, or video or whatever, and you tell it what you're interested in, and it will summarize it, personalized to you and to what you're interested in. And that, I mean, you'd hire analysts of all sorts to do that, and that feels like an unproductive struggle because you could just ask AI to summarize something at this point. Not saying 100% of the time, but like
for example, if you worked for a production company and you wanted to option a book and turn it into a movie, and you would hire someone to be like, all right, you're going to read these books and you're going to summarize them based upon what we like to produce as movies. And you're saying instead of doing that, you could do that with AI. I'm trying to put this.
You
in the
definitely
position of
could,
a
and
job.
I'm sure that they are using AI for that.
Yeah.
Or I mean, AI is really good at summarizing things. It's also really good at turning. Your example just now is like turning a thing into another thing. It's really good at that. Take this 500 word thing and make it like a 20 word promo. Make it a tweet.
Yep.
Make it a LinkedIn post. Whatever. Like it's quite good at that. I think it loses a lot of the human nature of it. So I wouldn't run with whatever it gives you immediately. But it's not. It depends on I think who's prompting it, whether you want it to give you a first pass or not. I find I often get annoyed with myself when I ask it to write for me. I really like. I have told you this before. I turn to AI sometimes when I'm feeling lazy or I'm on deadline, and like, oh, let me just get it. Sometimes it does help get the juices flowing, and then I totally discard what it gave me. And other times I've published different things like show notes or a headline. I tend to spend a lot of time on headlines actually, and try to get them right. But there's also sometimes you're not even writing for a person, you're writing for a search engine. And I find AI is probably better at that. So
that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing.
Whole
it's
other
like,
topic.
Robots talking to robots. But I think, I think maybe this is hopeful that we're going to look for things that force us to struggle in a fun way, like learning a musical instrument, or learning how to surf or picking up a skill that you're not great at. Like it's okay to be crappy at things, and because sometimes the joy is actually pushing through. That's a kind of a wistful, but so I think, and that's part of the utopian version of AI is it's doing all the drudgery. It wasn't ever very fun to read, your example just now, a stack of books, just looking for could this be a so Hollywood movie?
Right.
I'm sure some people really love that job and they don't want it to go away, but that also sounds kind of grueling.
It could for some people,
yeah.
Sure.
But for other people who want to read all day, it sounds totally ideal. And I'm sorry for that person that they hopefully find a different thing that fits them. If assuming that AI is taking that away. But yeah, I think we should find more things that we suck at, and that it's okay to I don't know. I feel like I should go learn piano or something. I've never played piano,
I love that. Looking for things to have those breakthrough moments with. And to summarize, obviously productive struggle is something that a lot of us have come up with. So it's a part of our past. Presently, it exists, but it's shifting and it exists in different ways. And this is me summarizing what you've shared. And the future, you're feeling optimistic about it. You're feeling that we will continue to look for things that we are not great at in order to have those breakthrough moments. And I think
hope so.
I think that's
yeah.
I mean, I at this point, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that those breakthrough moments can be replicated, like that feeling can be replicated with technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully it never
You know
will
what's
be.
hard? It's not as hard for you as it is for me, but like going out in public and like being with people is hard.
I struggle with it. You're laughing. I do.
Yeah.
I do. It's not always easy. I get it.
And we've talked like about, people retreating into their, chatbots and
Yes.
and that's a way to like avoid that. That's avoiding a productive struggle. Like, it sucks to like you're
1000%.
dating. It sucks to fail, most of the time, or too much of the time. Like that sucks.
Oh yeah.
So,
and this is the whole plight of young men. You know what I mean? It's sort of like I forget what the exact quote is, but I shouldn't say the statistic, but I know that there's a large number of men in their 20s and 30s who've never asked out a woman in person, like for a date, or women or a man. You know what I mean? I don't want to classify it, but they've never asked someone to go out on a date with them in person.
It's all over
the
text.
Idea, and it's all over text,
and it's also probably less direct than will you go out with me. It's probably like you want to hang or something like that.
You want to hang, but even that, being able to do that and going to the next level. I have friends who are younger, obviously younger than me, women who are just sort of like, it is difficult to date. The idea of communication, being able to connect with people, is hard for some young men, and it's easier for them to do it with a chatbot.
I know what we need.
What do we need?
Humanoid robot wingman as a service. I'm going out. I'm going out with my boys. My boys are a bunch of robots, but I'm going out. Help me out.
And then your humanoids,
and they'll have like pheromone detectors that like are like way on a level that like the human body doesn't even have. And you'd be like, talk to that one.
Oh man,
yeah.
You might need to talk to our friend from Design for Feeling about that one. And then your humanoids can talk to Melania's humanoids, and then you can talk to Melania.
And then it goes full circle, and then the robots, just All right, man. Happy spring. You and I will be off next week. I got a conversation from South by Southwest with my buddy Rob, who also joined on that lovely rooftop. 2 episodes coming next week. One is with Eben Bayer, who is working on Spaceship Earth, as he likes to call it, the Buckminster Fuller phrase, really interesting climate tech entrepreneur. That's on Tuesday. And then on Friday, we got Rob and me on a rooftop from South by Southwest, and he kind of turns the interview on me and gets a little meta. So that's coming up.
I'm sure you enjoyed that.
I did.
I'm sure you enjoyed
it.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Until next week.
Hope that was fun for you. If you've made it this far, I'm going to guess that it was. Please share this episode with a friend. This is truly the way that podcasts grow. You can send them to futurearound.com. That's also where you can sign up for the show's newsletter. Again, that's futurearound.com.